like and subscribe. Now, what do you do to escape reality? Stargazing sets me straight. I have to do some stargazing for this astronomy class, but I'm still gay. You mean JAY asterisk. I'm headed out on a stargazing trip right now. Just for a night. My grandfather put a little observatory in one of the darkest places in Utah. I'm going to check it out. Walk my dog early in the morning. We pretend we are navigating an apocalyptic landscape in the search for treats. I used to do this with my kid. We'd jump on our bikes, circle the block, find a care package, backpack with water, snacks, etc. and ride to faraway places. Sometimes we'd hit up the elementary school about a mile away and have to fight off the horde of zombies then sneak back on our bikes and ride. I personally have died many a times, according to him. Lol. Eventually, we planned on doing a nighttime ride too, but I wanted to set up the bikes for that reflectors, headlamps, etc. but it kept getting shoved off for other bills, or he'd rather do something else instead, until finally, he completely outgrew hanging out with mom. Sometimes, I'll get a few COD zombie sessions in, and we'll grab Chipotle and try to catch up on Flash, but that's a very rare treat for me now. You're an awesome parent. That's the sweetest, saddest thing I've heard today. He will always remember those times as an adult. I still remember the stories my mother used to make up when I was little. I can close my eyes and see her sitting on the edge of my grandfather's bed, telling us about the old lady in the woods. We pretend. Stay up awfully late. Tomorrow can't come if I never go to sleep. Right. Might last longer. Ugh. I hate how close to home this feels. My dad does this. I used to as well. I came across the concept of revenge sleep procrastination and it really hit the nail on the head as to the why behind it. At least for my life. My dad will say he's a night owl, but all this started when he was younger, having a controlling parent, so he would stay up late to have his own time. It carried over into adulthood and now he has a weird sleep schedule of 4 AM to 2 PM and doesn't socialize or eat with the rest of the family at normal times. This is my life right now, and always, and it's slowly destroying my mind and career. I stay up late because I have to do my hobbies, activities, and relaxation. I deserve it. My parents weren't strict. I've been doing this since high school, but I have to wake up for work by 7 AM. Last job 6 AM. So I'm getting such a lack of sleep that it affects my focus, my motivation, my attitude, causes high anxiety, depression, mood swings. But those small serotonin releases I get from doing my leisure activities and hobbies causes me to keep doing it for over a decade now. I don't know how to break this habit. Sounds like your dad may be struggling with delayed sleep phase disorder, a circadian rhythm disorder that develops in childhood and can persist into adulthood. A psychiatrist diagnosed me with it years ago because my sleep cycle is similarly out of phase, though not quite as drastically. I'm more like 2 AM 10 AM, unless I work on it. People don't realize just how disabling sleep disorders can be. They can cause significant impairment in work and in life. I'd love to fall asleep at 10 PM and wake at 6 AM for work, but my body won't let me, and I end up staring at the bedroom ceiling till 2 AM and being permanently sleep deprived. Thankfully my employer gives me flexible hours, so I can wake and start work later if I need to. That's morning me's problem. Night me wants to stay up and play video games and finish that show. Point I mean, there's only 3 45-minute episodes left. That's my time. Nobody can tell me what to do late at night. The complete silence of everyone being asleep and you being awake with nothing going on is a nice escape. It almost feels foreign, as if you're in another planet. I had a job I hated so much I would get depressed on Sunday afternoon facing another week. To combat this, I'd normally stay up all night Sunday and just have the sleep deprivation buzz on Monday. It was the most prestigious job I'd ever had, was a good resume thing, and I was good at it, so I stuck it out for 3 years. But I was very often miserable. People rarely understand when I say that sleep deprivation gives you some sort of high. When I was going to high school I was depressed, and I had self-esteem issues. One time I pulled an all-nighter and still had to go to school. Once I got there I was amazed, because I just didn't give a F. I didn't care what other people thought, how boring the class was, how dumb the other kids were. etc. Obviously that's not sustainable, but I'd do it a few times a month, and it was like a break from the world in the thoughts, because a sleep deprived brain can't really do much overthinking. I was even more social and outgoing lol. Read fantasy fiction. Any cool recommendations? I've been digging Unsold Cradle series by Will White, which is very kung fu / Last Airbender type of series. Sir Terry Pratchett's Discworld. All of them. Start with guards, or maybe Mort, or small gods. If you like any of them, then start at the beginning and read, or listen your way through. They changed my life for the better. Also all these other recommendations people have submitted. Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson is always a great recommendation if you want to disappear for a month. The Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks kind of follows the Last Airbender vibe, since it has multiple magic / fig thing systems. SharePoint time flows slow in there for some reason. It helps anxiety attacks. Water on your face slows heart rate and oxygen consumption. So I hear, yeah, it can activate the dive reflex when you do that. Running cold water on wrists / forearms can also be pretty magical. I have panic disorder and ventricular tachycardia, a heart disease, and I found that splashing really cold water in my face is one of the only few ways I can get myself out of a panic attack, or get my heart to stop palpitating. Showers, but time goes by so fast. I'll sit in there for 2 hours and come out 6 later. Repetitive medium labor, raking / leaf blower, splitting logs, yard work, a light jog, something about working until your muscles get that numbness to it. The rest of the world aside from what you're doing just melts away, and you reach a point where it doesn't matter, and hey, it's good exercise. Yes, I call it thinking work. The world just fades away, and you can actually think clearly. Aka meditation. Most people think of an hour and incense and focusing on your breathing, but the same clarity of thought can be accomplished by focusing on a task like chopping wood, digging ditches, or cooking. Focus on a thing and the background noise goes away. My painting professor used to describe painting like chopping wood. Just keep at the work steadily, and the rest will take care of itself. I feel you. I stress clean, scrub floors, countertops, vacuum, chop stuff in the kitchen. Just about anything that keeps my body moving and focused on that one task. It's absolute concentration, like immersion. I really dislike snow, but shoveling it is probably the most relaxing thing in the world to me. Daydream. Was gonna say the same. Maladaptive daydreaming. I've had it all of my life and only recently learned it's a thing. I've daydreamed so many possible scenarios that some of them have actually come true, just based on the odds. Mostly, it saps my mental strength and makes me feel disassociated from the real world. When I'm anxious, it fuels the anxiety because I can see the bad thing happening so clearly. I think it's a mechanism my mind developed to help me cope with a lonely childhood but never disassembled, and it continued to churn away even when it was no longer needed. On a positive note, I write fiction and have come to recognize that the daydreaming is my mind's way of telling me there are stories I need to get out. It's so frustrating. I've got these, essentially what are television shows, running in my head all the time that I can vividly describe, but when I try to write it as a story or draw it out, I'm never satisfied with what I put down. Is there anything you do to just enjoy the process rather than worrying about how perfectly it matches your vision? I have this. My way of managing it is letting myself daydream while I work out. So I'll run on the treadmill or work out on the elliptical for 30 to 40 minutes and just let my mind run wild. I've also started meditating, just 5 minutes of keeping my head empty a day. If I remember, it's helping a lot. I feel much more connected to reality now, though it's depressing. I've been gone from reality so long there's not much in it. I'm connected to FS with my memories too. Anyone else daydream by thinking about buying things for hobbies? I spend my entire shift online shopping. Sometimes I research a new hobby and for weeks try to find the best gear, but I never start that new hobby. Rinse and repeat the next week. Last week I got really into gravel bicycles. Researched all the different bars, clips vs flats, which bike packs to go overnighting with, which cassettes are good for the terrain I plan to ride, tire size, shoes, how to convert a tubeless. I mean, I could go on about it, and I'll never even buy the damn bike. Sort of. I do this with the hobbies I currently have. For me, I tend to bounce between bursts of each hobby. So for a while, it was cars. Then it was retro video games. Then it was fountain pens. I tend to deep dive one at a time, while slowing down on the others for a bit. I mean, really deep dive. Then it takes the form of daydreaming, because in the shower I will have podcast style discussions / debates with myself on the topics. So, for example, if I'm in a car mode, I'll have discussions with myself in my head about something I want to do to my car, or some topic related to cars that I'm interested in. My wife saw somewhere that it's actually one of the signs of ADHD in adults. She is diagnosed and does this as well. I'm not sure how valid that is in all cases though, as you can pretty much ascribe anything to a diagnosis if you try hard enough. I worry a lot that I like the fantasy of being a guy with real interests or passions a lot more than any of my actual hobbies. Like, even things I enjoy doing still basically feel like a chore. Part of me wonders if the part of my brain that does fun is just broken. For the life of me, I can't find a single video game I actually like. Aren't games supposed to be like distilled fun? I think some of it comes from reading a very scientific article I read on Cracked as a kid. It was about how the anticipation of a thing is better than the thing itself. So why bother with getting the thing? Seems a little like eating the wrapper and throwing away the candy. Nothing I ever do is going to give me enough pleasure to actually feel like it's worth doing. At best it's just trying to find ways to maintain myself emotionally. Like I think I'm at this point where I'm consciously thinking about how life is just finding ways to numb and distract yourself while we slowly wait to die. I don't drink anymore, but the best parts of my free time include sleep, staying up late, masturbation, aimlessly browsing the internet, and occasionally edibles. And like, I'm fairly happy, like my job is fine. I have a partner I'm just crazy about, but it still feels like all I'm doing is self-medicating. But maybe that's just what being alive is, right? Maybe all pleasure is relief. I'm just too stubborn and arrogant for my own good. So I refuse to delude myself into thinking that life's anything but what it is. Or maybe I'm a man-child stuck in his mid-adolescence. That's also very possible. The Mayo. IDK. Like, I don't want to die, but I would love to be put down. My life is fine. But also the idea of doing this for another 40 to 60 years is so exhausting. I just want this to be over with already. At least when you die young it's a tragedy. When you're like 80 or whatever it's kind of just expected. TBH, maybe it's better to die really young. Like, period. That way you had a whole life to look forward to without having to deal with the stress and disappointment. Sorry, this is like my least favorite flavor of internet comment. The like, unprompted therapist info dump. I guess I just needed a public void to shout into. I like to look online for houses I might buy if I had all the money. But my daydreaming self is spoiled as heck and none of the mansions are ever good enough for me. I have an entire fantasy space opera / political intrigue story I escape into with years worth of lore put into it. ITA gotten so big I've no idea if I could even put it to paper at this point. 90% of my time awake is spent daydreaming. Oddly enough, since it's become so prevalent in my life, I stopped getting vivid dreams. Maybe my brain is drained out, so to speak. It gets maladaptive very quick. Been there. Yeah, I developed this habit as a child to escape from trauma and neglect, and then it became a way of life. Now I'm an adult and really struggle with relationships and life in general, because nothing measures up to the fantasy. Write fiction, read fiction, gaming. Writing is such a relief on nights when I'm too tired and want to avoid screen time. I either imagine my way through plot and dialogue or make small notes on paper. There are times when I'm writing that I truly zone out for hours at a time, and I'm just there with my characters. Yeah, when it's like that, it's the best thing in the world. Listen to music, game. Same music and games calms me. Whenever I read games calm me, I wonder if it's the same person who yells at their diamond teammates for dropping the shield a little early on that EVA ult. Video games. When my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I hid in video games, notably World of Warcraft. It was the only thing that kept me sane. I mean, I still worked and interacted with people and took her to appointments and spent time with my dad. But when I found myself alone with my thoughts, I would log into the game and spend hours there. The beautiful thing about video games is that the problems have solutions. You can generally solve every dilemma and even get a reward. That's not the case in real life. I never thought about it like that. Your last paragraph. That's a cool perspective I had never considered. This is what I used to do. Until not even that would interest me anymore. I've been at that point for a while. I think it's the a-holes online that keep me sane now. Yeah, why did that happen? I used to play 8 hours a day, now I don't enjoy it all. Did we mature or what happened? Run. And not in some fitness guru way, where it really brings me into a meditative headspace. When I'm running I just can't think about anything but running. Funny, I have to listen to some music I'm really into when running, because I can't be thinking about running, or else I'll want to stop running. When I'm running I just can't think about anything but running. That is the actual thing going on behind the meditative headspace and living in the present and all that good stuff though. The mind has to focus on doing the current activity, so it stops stressing out over the past and future, in order to have the mental capacity for the task at hand. That's why so many people find these activities to be good stress relievers. It forces your mind to stop thinking about stressful things for a while. Isn't that what you do in meditation? Instead of focusing on your breathing, you're just focusing on running. Exercise, and if I have more time, go for a longer hike and enjoy nature. I don't care how old I am, I will always enjoy walking around forest. Fallen leaves up to your knees, kicking them around, listening to rustling, and walking on freshly fallen snow. This almost sounds like the opposite of escaping reality. You're truly diving into it and experiencing the best of what reality has to offer. My day-to-day reality is tiny apartment in city, with loud neighbors, dogs barking, constant sounds of traffic, looking at computer most of the day, sitting behind desk. So when I need a change I go to nature, to the mountains, where I can find peace, forget about problems, and try to enjoy things I enjoyed when I was kid. Really listen to nature, observe shapes, colors and daydream. Come here and read. Shockingly low is this. I'd have thought Reddit would be in top 5. People who distract themselves with Reddit, trying to distract from that with tales of other distractions. Late at night, I take my bike and ride to my old elementary school that's now a public park. I sit down on the same bench I've always sat at, and I start recording. I found that talking my problems out, or talking about anything, just helps me to escape. Some of those audio logs I've listened to countless times. I catch myself thinking, wow, I actually said that. Maybe someday I'll post them online, or preserve them as a memento to the times I've lived through. I can tell you right now, if I never started making those logs I wouldn't be half the person I'm now. I think it's called meta thinking. By recording your thoughts, or even if you wrote those down, you're now thinking about thinking. You're basically removing the emotional connection to whatever is troubling you, and you're giving yourself a chance to objectively look at those thoughts. It's why you catch yourself thinking, wow, I actually thought that. It's a really useful tool for helping to clear away the gunk, to help you find the source of problems. It's something I think everyone should do. It's such a huge help. Sleep. Too depressed and broke to even try anything else. When in doubt, nap it out. I don't sleep to rest. I sleep to not be awake. This guy escapes. The dreams are generally much better than real life as well. I had a dream so happy. It was exactly what I've been wishing for years. But when I woke up I was sad the whole effing day. I was there a few years ago. I don't regret sleeping when I needed to like that. Now I'm so much better. Everyone's road is different. My depression, I seem to have years where I'm more functional, but still depressed, and years where I lose all function. Remembering it's gotten better in the past is what gets me through. Keep going. You're worth it. Not today, Mark. I laughed, and now all my coke blew behind the toilet. Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants. Garden. Saved me from depression. No meds ever worked, I swear. Physical activity seems more often than not to be the #1 help for depression. When someone is venting, really down and sad, and the other says, let's walk and talk, or let's just go for a walkers, because it actually works. I was in a place of super dark depression. I had planned out how I was gonna kill myself when my parents came to visit me, and the reason I was gonna wait for them is because I thought, well, someone will be there to take care of my kids. I obviously didn't do it, but I remember crying in the corner of the bathroom floor because I felt selfish. that I wanted to see them grow up. I thought they deserved better than me, and being gone would be better for them. Still brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. Browse Reddit for stupid lengths of time. Isn't that why we're all here on Reddit? I create fantasy worlds and build them up, complete with languages, culture, people, history, etc. It's fun. Is that you? J.R.R. Tolkien. If I'm escaping something like someone talking about something I don't want to hear, I just stop listening and start thinking about my to-do list of the day. YouTube. I drink too much, but also there's virtual reality. Talk about an escape. I love my Oculus. Skate. Drugs. I literally came here to say substances, and there's all these wholesome and healthy answers. Mayo I have those healthy answers like video games, guitar, birding, but the real answer is going out and getting drunk. I'm surprised drugs was this far down. Mind you, I wouldn't be surprised if drugs were involved in a lot of those wholesome and healthy answers, even as more of a side dish, I guess, a compliment rather than the main activity. I used to do drugs, I still do, but I used to too. God, finally, not all these healthy responses, and I'm over here like drugs. I can't believe how far I had to scroll for the truth. Either escape into my own mind, or go into VR. For me they are kinda similar. Read a book. Star Trek TNG, Star Trek DS9, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Enterprise, Stargate SG-1, rinse and repeat. Masturbate. I have a hole in my bed. Get on my level, virgin. Eat. Smoke weed. You really need to try lucid dreaming. It takes time, but it's the best. There are several books you can read them for instructions, and you can do anything in your dreams on your own command. It's pretty cool, TBH.